Hello and welcome to my patch notes rundown for the 20th of June. I'm sorry for the week delay on this video. Unfortunately, I got COVID on the day of the update. Regardless, this week's update introduces the long-awaited nerf to the unhealthy gold injection of elite dungeons trash farms, possibly giving way towards making death costs less punishing. Without further ado, let's get right into it. The Vital Spark drop rates now scale with the Slayer level required to kill the creature. I think this is a great change, as I believe unique drops should always scale to the difficulty or level of the monster regardless of how good the XP may be. I assume they've kept Corrupted Scorpions at the same rate while buffing everything else up linearly. I doubt the Vital Spark or Slayer meta will change primarily because of AFK content, but this should push Guerrilla Arcs to be worthwhile if the player is willing to play actively. Corrupted Scorpion salvage drop rates have been reduced slightly. I couldn't acquire a large enough sample size to determine how much of a nerf this is to the overall GE per hour. However, prior to this update, the salvage drops made up 30% of the total GE per hour at Corrupted Scorpions, including Vital Spark drops. I'm definitely happy to see them cut down on the raw GP drops rather than uniques, as cutting down on raw GP will help the economy heal, whereas buffing unique drops that are expensive allows players more access to fun mechanics. The dungeon is now split into 3 different zones. Zone 1, the drop table has been reduced by approximately 90% in value. Zone 2, the drop table remains the same. And Zone 3, the drop table has been increased by approximately 200% in value. The primary intention of this change was to battle bots injecting absurd amounts of gold into the game by farming Zone 1 repeatedly. Now, this also did affect legitimate players that would run this method, but I would still stand by the fact that it's not healthy for the economy due to how much raw GP it was bringing into the game with very little effort. You can still yield almost the same rate if you complete the full dungeon. If you're not convinced by this game design philosophy, look at it this way. Would you be okay if a boss had 5 phases, gave drops and XP for every phase you clear, but the best way to farm it was to do phase 1, teleport and repeat? All 3 bosses have had their common loot tables buffed to compensate for the reduction in drop value from Zone 1. You need to defeat 51 enemies in Zone 1 to pass through the dungeon, meanwhile you need to defeat 16 enemies in Zone 3. Using the estimated percentages from a sample size of 6 dungeon runs, the overall GP rates from normal enemies have been reduced by 9%, but this does not include the buff drops from bosses. So I think it's fair to assume that farming zones for GP is no longer worthwhile. However, the full dungeon runs averages the same GP rate. The Friends Chat player limit has been increased from 100 to 500. Anachronia base camp resources now update when entering the Dream of Aya. Abyssal Armor Spikes alloy now correctly have a 10% chance to deal 900% damage like the normal Armor Spikes alloy can. The Skybox override during the arch-glacor's Frost Cannon attack will now consistently revert back to the player's original Skybox after the attack. Bane weaponry modifiers now affect minimum damage as well as maximum damage. This is actually a massive change, as one of the biggest downsides of using this, most notably at Revenants, was that the minimum hit was really low, meaning that the chance of one-shotting the higher level Revenants was significantly lower than Daroks. And that's it for this week's patch notes. I'm very happy with this week's changes, as they've taken serious action on heavily botted methods that pump the economy with unhealthy amounts of raw gold. I believe these are genuine steps in making death costs less punishing in the future. Anyways, that's it from me. Thank you for watching and take care.